Hello and welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which you're doing on Thursday afternoon. Joining us from San Jose, California, where he's out there for the All-Star festivities up in the Bay Area, is Tim Bontemps.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us from Dallas, Texas, where he's very excited to hit the All-Star break, is Ben MacMahon.
Howdy, partners.
All right, so this is one of our favorite days of the year. It's straw poll day.
Oh, I thought you meant going to the All-Star break.
Oh,
well, I was going to say, nobody deserves the All-Star break more than our guy, MacMahon, after the way the last couple of weeks have gone. He deserves to escape.
This only comes around 3 times. Well, I guess it's more than 3 times a year. 3 times a season. The straw poll.
Yeah, it's 3 times a year.
Yeah, that Akron math.
Yeah, 3 times a year, buddy.
No, there would be one in the fall. I guess you're right. 3 times a year.
3 times a year. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, 3 times a year. Yeah,
listen, man,
math.
I will never claim to be a math expert. I took my last math class my junior year of high school, and I did not do well in it.
It shows right there.
You're right. I'm not denying it. I'm not denying it.
Humiliated right now.
But you had to do some adding, Bontemps, for your poll. Real quick.
I did.
The methodology for the Bontemps poll is as I'm just good. Bontemps is too, he tells it too complicated. So I'm just going to tell it. He talks to 100 likely voters in all 30 markets and internationally. He talks to broadcasters, writers, pundits. He gets a cross section of the actual matrix, like everybody, like they do in the league. He doesn't just talk to people in New York, doesn't just talk to people in Omaha, doesn't just talk to broadcasters or reporters. He talks to the whole section. So it has
all the likely voters in Omaha, though, he does talk to.
Yes. This poll has reliably been the greatest predictor of any NBA award. And so without further ado, Mr. Bontemps, the floor is yours. And by the way, one more thing. Sorry, more ado.
That's fine. More
ado. MacMahon and I, as is our standard custom, MacMahon and I do not know the results. We will be learning them in real time here. And Bontemps keeps us under lock and key because it does affect the odds. And MacMahon and I do not wager. I can't speak about Jackson. I'm just kidding. I'm sure Jackson.
Not on basketball. Throw down. I'll nickel and dime some football bets. But go on.
All right. So that's the disclaimer. All right, Bontemps, now it's yours.
Yeah. Well, these are always the 3 days where I'm actually complimented on the pod. So I should probably do more polls, and that would be better for me.
Well, I was just about to say the other reason that you hold so tight to the results is because it's the tiny little shred of power that you have. But go on.
It's not really anything to do with that, though. I do get
a
lot
might
of questions.
Be wrong to say, but it's not inaccurate.
All right, so in the second edition of the poll, we had 14 different players get at least one vote, which was a lot more than I expected. We'll run through the bottom guys quick, because I think we'll have a couple brief stops along the way. Alperen Şengün was 14th. He got one fifth place vote.
Phase 3, MacMahon. Phase 3.
Hold on. I thought Jonathan Fagan retired. My guy Fagan.
It was not from a Houston reporter.
Wow.
Not from a Houston reporter.
Turkey. Shout out to Turkey. Our Turkish.
It was not a Turkish reporter either. Another first-time entrant in the poll, 2 fifth-place votes for Pistons guard Cade Cunningham.
Wow.
Who's had a very impressive
first
run this
of
year,
many?
making his first All-Star. We'll see about that. First All-Star appearance this weekend. He's had a great year for them. Another first-time entrant in the poll, in 12th place with 1 fourth-place vote, Cavs corner, stand up for Evan Mobley.
Whoa.
1 fourth-place vote.
How many votes for Tristan Thompson for dunking up by 30 on Wednesday night?
Hey, he gets mine for the sportsmanship award. I guarantee it. Most overrated thing in sports is sportsmanship.
Let's just say Tristan's feeling pretty good about his dunk after that game last night.
Let me get that.
I might have texted him today and asked him about it. He might be feeling pretty good about dunking in his hometown in that scenario.
Let me get that tweet up. As real quick, the Cavs absolutely blasted the Raptors. The Raptors were on the second night of a back-to-back. They were missing some guys, but the Cavs completely dominated the game. And then Tristan was in garbage time at the end, and with less than 30 seconds, it wasn't like at the buzzer, but with like less than 30 seconds, he threw down a dunk, and Darko, the Raptors coach, did not appreciate it.
What he did.
Said it was no class, I think Darko said.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
Darko
yeah.
was displeased.
Hold on. There was more than that.
Brian, well, we don't need to get into Darko's whole thing too, but Tristan's response was funny. Darko was unhappy about the dunk.
No class and disrespect. Go on. Let's hear
Right.
Tristan. Tristan.
All right. So Tristan said, hey, you want a full court press with under a minute left in the game. When you get cracked by 30, this will happen to you. Lose for the draft lottery and be happy, buddy boy, which he's referring to Darko, who's a nice man. I have nothing bad to say about him.
Darko.
Yeah,
Hopefully you and most of your guys see the light at the end of Bobby and Masai's long-term plan. Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri, their front office. Bless up and stay warm, in all caps, my city.
Toronto native Tristan Thompson. Listen, the man, I'm sure he had friends and family in the arena. He hadn't dunked in a while. I got to get Stats Williams on this. I'm pretty sure Tristan's last dunk was on the NBA Today set. Remember when he threw it down on Shai? On live TV when he was our teammate. So, the man gets a chance to dunk in his hometown. Throw it down, big fella.
And he did.
Tristan, not bashful.
But anyway, Evan Mobley with a 4th place vote.
Yeah, it was interesting. A bunch of first-time vote getters at the bottom. Tied in points, but ahead of him because he got a couple more votes with 3 5th-place votes. Former member of Cavs Corner, best player in the league, LeBron James, first entrance in the poll since the beginning of last season.
Really ahead of Evan Mobley. Okay.
But he got some 5th-place votes. So we'll see if the Lakers continue to win. They've obviously had a great run into the All-Star break up until this game Wednesday night in Utah, where they got smacked by the Jazz. That was an eye-popping box score, by the way. That's Lauri Markkanen plus 35. Walker Kessler with, I think, 8 for 8 from the field and 6 blocks. There was a lot of stuff going on in that one.
Walker was not intimidated by newly signed Alex Len. I'll just leave it at that.
Luka Doncic minus 19 in 23 minutes. Hey, I've started hearing people call this the Max Christie trade, because Max Christie is averaging more points per game since the trade since Luka Doncic. I think that's premature. I think we should probably,
you think so?
I think we should probably let things play out.
How many votes for Max Christie?
I will tell you what, though, the Mavericks did get a really good player in Max Christie. That guy has come on in a huge way this season and was really coming on for the Lakers, and he's been great.
If the Mavericks would have just made a trade that Max Christie was the return, like if it said it had been like Maxey Kleber and a 1st-round pick for Max Christie, their fans would be really fired up about him. He got a little overshadowed by who else was in this deal.
I thought one of the more interesting spots on the whole ballot was Jaren Jackson Jr. coming in 9th, a couple 4th-place votes and a 5th-place vote, not because he's going to win MVP, but because we've talked a bunch on this pod about Memphis wanting to re-sign Jaren to a long-term extension before he hits free agency. Trading Marcus Smart last week gave him the ability to potentially renegotiate and extend him. But I think Jaren Jackson Jr.'s got a really good chance to be an All-NBA forward this year, or an All-NBA player, I should say. Mm-hmm. And if he makes All-NBA, and I think being in the top 10 in MVP voting is a good sign that's going to happen with the position of this ballot, he's going to be super max eligible, and Zach Kleiman is going to have a lot more flexibility to get a deal done with him, and I assume keep him in Memphis for the long term.
Yeah, and listen, Ja's missed a lot of time. The Grizzlies are rolling along, sitting 2nd in the Western Conference. He's having his best offensive year, career high 23 points per game, really good efficiency. He's been a defensive player of the year. He's still one of the best. His block shots are down a bit, but he's still like a phenomenal defensive player. I think he's got a great case to be an All-NBA selection if he keeps this rolling for the final 30 games of the season or so.
Agree.
Thank you.
MacMahon with some perfect points. In 8th place, one of Brian's discoveries, 1 3rd-place vote, 7 5th-place votes, 8 total votes and 12 total points. Victor Wembanyama back in the poll again. moving up a little bit, with the Spurs moving up the standings a little bit. We'll see down the stretch here what happens with MacMahon and I's bet and whether the Spurs can get in the mix for a play-in spot. But I think it's safe to say Victor's going to be in the mix on these for a little while to come now.
I did not put him on my ballot. I seriously considered it at the 5th spot, but I did not put him on my ballot because the Spurs are outside the top 11.
And they're sub 500. I also consider sub 500. If they get their 36th win and he has a big game that night, I might put him number 1 on my ballot.
I see.
But they've fallen off the pace that I need to see.
You should ask the place where Victor took his team to dinner, and we took the Spurs to dinner in Paris. Les Altiers, Joël du Robuchon, Les Altiers du Joël Robuchon. That would be a spectacular place for you to collect on your bet.
Dude, maybe the best meal I ever had was in Paris on my honeymoon. This place called Giraffe, with the Eiffel Tower in the background. The first time I had some fancy old caviar, which was but the meal was phenomenal. But I am going to see the Spurs coming out of the All-Star break. Don't tell the bosses, but it's a trip that I'm milking to go see my daughter on the company dime because they're playing the Suns at the University of Texas. So.
The bosses don't listen to this pod anyway. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. So really looking forward to that. And I'm going to have a conversation with, CP3 will probably be receptive to me saying, dude, like, I got dinner on the line. We get these boys rolling again. I don't know. I'll practice some French. If I can do the old part of my French and start cussing at Victor. But yeah, they got to get it turned around if he's going to be a real MVP candidate, and to prevent me from having to take Bontemps out for fast food.
Well, you mentioned Brian, the fact that the 5th spot might be a little bit open. I'm going to list off the next 3 guys in a row because they all basically split the 5th vote, and I think the 5th spot is pretty much completely wide open at this point. So, the 2 Knicks, Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns, basically had the exact same votes. Had 22 and 23 total votes each. Brunson had 1 extra point, so he was 6th, and Towns was 7th. But they had 32 and 31 points. Basically split the Knicks vote. If one of them had gotten all the votes, though, they still would have been 6th because they would have been behind the other entrant in Cavs corner, Donovan Mitchell, who had 3 third-place votes, 11 fourth-place votes, 25 fifth-place votes, 39 total, and 73 total points. And I think as things stand, is the most likely guy to finish 5th, not surprisingly, given the way the Cavs season has gone.
Yeah, I went with Brunson 5th on my ballot, but Donovan is a good choice because of how well the Cavs are doing. As you guys know, one of my guidelines that I'm trying to determine awards is I think about what the player's responsibilities are. The code word I use is lift. How big is his lift every night? And while Donovan has been awesome, what the Knicks asked Jalen Brunson to do, especially in minutes, is just a lot. And so that's why I went with him 5th. It was funny, though. Josh Hart the other day was saying that he really appreciates when Jalen tries to play defense because all he does is foul when he tries to play defense. So, but that notwithstanding, I had him 5th.
I am surprised. Cat has had a great year. I've been surprised how many votes he's gotten in these straw polls so far. Because to me, if you're picking a guy that's the MVP of the Knicks, Cat's had a phenomenal year. He deserves to be in the All-Star game, deserves to be an All-Star starter out of the East. But I think you ask anybody at the Knicks, I think they would tell you Jalen is the guy that drives that team forward. And I think, you saw it even last night. They're playing this crazy game against the Hawks. They tried to blow it a bunch of times. They're down 1 with 20 seconds to go, no timeouts. Jalen's got Dyson Daniels, maybe the best perimeter defender in the league, guarding him, and he just sizes him up and buries a 20-footer and makes sure they wins the game.
Well, and he's the culture setter. He's the leader. Obviously he's the guy with the ball in his hands and all that. I didn't have him on my ballot. I'll be honest with you, I've been a little bit busy, so I didn't put just a massive amount of thought in the 4th spot. I had Donovan 4th, and Wendy, it's interesting. You mentioned the thing, the responsibilities of lift and all that, and I get it. I also think that part of Donovan's value this year has been to kind of let go a little bit. And I've covered Donovan. I covered him a lot from his rookie year on, the whole Utah thing. Wrote a lot about all the friction with him and Gobert, all that, the whole saga. And I actually talked to Donovan when I was in Cleveland, just shooting the bull off to the side. And when I talked to him about this, there was definitely a point in Donovan's career where stats mattered to him, status mattered to him. Averaging points per game was important, which is not unusual. Like Anthony Edwards has been honest about that stuff matters to him now. He doesn't want to be double teamed past the ball now. He wants to get buckets. Donovan is at the point in his career, and he's at a great point where he's in his prime physically and has really matured to the point where he understands, hey, if I give up a little bit, it's better for the team. Now let Garland get going, empower Mobley, all these things. And it's able to save his body and his legs so he can be fresh come playoff time, unlike last year where, man, obviously his body gave out on him. So I actually think Donovan willingly and even eagerly accepting a little bit less has been part of his value to the Cavs this year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think he deserves a ton of credit for that.
Wendy, I know you're not used to that kind of nuance from me, but that's pretty.
I listen, man. I'm in agreement. It would be more fun if we were arguing over the definition of bad luck, but at the end of the week, we're out of gas.
Well, no,
just keeps digging himself a bigger hole, MacMahon.
But the thing about it is, when Wendy's got his hair right, when he's got the product in there and the part, right, he's got the thing going.
Yep. He's calm, cool, and collected. That's right.
You catch Wendy in a bad hair moment. It wasn't even a bad hair day because the hair was right, and then he let his hair down.
And it wasn't. That's right.
You catch Wendy in a bad hair moment, and the mood.
All bets are off, baby.
You're saying there's a correlation between what's going on inside the head.
Exactly. When it's on point outside, it's on point outside. When it goes to hell outside, you get the old mopester.
Oh, all right. Well, now we get to the real business end of the pod. Starting in fourth place, I think you guys can guess who's in fourth place because he's in fourth place basically in every poll.
For the last 2 years.
That is correct. Jason Tatum,
top of the second tier, baby.
So Jason Tatum,
we should call him Toast. Top of the second tier.
So Jason Tatum was first in the first straw poll of the 22-23 season, the year Embiid ended up winning. Since then, he has been somewhere between fourth and sixth in every single poll. And he is again in fourth, 18 third place votes, 65 fourth place votes, 14 fifth place votes, 97 total, 299 points. Actually on one more ballot than the guy who was in third. You guys can probably also guess. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bucks star.
Hold on, wait. Tatum finished above LeBron and above KD. Should have got more minutes in the Olympics. We got that one, Wendy. How do you feel about
that? What's that meme where Tom Hardy is like, that's bait? I think it's Tom Hardy. That's bait. Just pretend I did that.
So Giannis finished third, 96 total ballots, 1 second place vote, 77 third place votes, 12 fourth place, and 6 fifth place votes, 430 total points. Which, go ahead.
Tatum
is say something.
Tatum, but we moved past Tatum. Tatum's having a fabulous year. He's leading the Celtics in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. It's either steals or blocks. Has to be steals. I mean, and that's a good team. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah. I noticed that during the playoffs last year.
He's having a tremendous season.
Yeah.
He's going to be first team All-NBA again. He's a phenomenal player. I also think he's probably going to be semi-permanently stuck in sort of this position where he's somewhere between fourth and sixth on the ballot every year.
If you're making a supermax contract, $300 million, and you're stuck
right
on the first team All NBA and in fourth place for MVP, I would say
worse.
I'd say life is great. And look, the thing that Tatum in particular I think doesn't get enough credit for is the fact that he plays all the time. Like we're talking about all these other guys missing time. He plays all the time. And look, Giannis, we've talked about it some lately. he's only 6 games away from potentially being ineligible for any awards at all. Now, one thing I have in the story that's running today with the poll itself, I checked with the league, and because Giannis played in the NBA Cup final, the only thing that game counts for is end of season awards. Stats don't count. The game result doesn't count, but it counts as a game played for the 65 game rule. So even though he's missed 12 regular season games, he's got 6 games to play with to be eligible still.
That game made me flip-flop in the previous straw poll, and I'm still getting crap about that in OKC.
Well, so now we're down to the real business part. We've got Shai and we've got Jokic.
Let me just point out, Giannis' numbers actually stack up favorably to both of his MVP seasons. The Bucks record doesn't, and these two dudes are clearly like it's a 2-horse race.
It is a 2-horse race. They were the only 2 players to be on every ballot, and they had there was only one third place vote between the 2 of them, and they swept the rest of the first and second place votes. It's the most dominant top 2 I've ever seen in any of these polls over the past several years that I've done.
So basically, since you love these, it's not just you. It's all of ESPN loves tiers. Our editors love tiers. So there would be these 2 guys would be in tier 1. Correct. Giannis would be in tier 2 by himself, or no, he would be. I guess he would be with Tatum.
I would say he and Tatum are in tier 2 together because
I can't get him close then.
Well, I think Giannis will finish 3rd pretty clearly if he's eligible. But if Tatum, I think, will be the next guy. And then there's a pretty clear tier after that with Mitchell and the Knicks guys.
Okay.
You got any predictions on before we unveil this on how it went?
Well, I will say how I voted.
Yeah, go ahead. You guys should both say first.
I voted for Jokic in the first poll, and felt pretty strongly about where he was, and he has done nothing to hurt his case in that time.
You voted and stopped huffing and puffing.
That's the freaking pod, buddy. Huffing and puffing is the name of the game. If we didn't huff and puff, we would be done. But Shai has been so impressive and the Thunder so dominant that it is really the classic case for MVP. And so with nothing against Jokic, I did vote for Shai for first in this.
Yeah, and so did I. And look, say what you want. If it's even, I'm going with a guy who hadn't won it yet, and the guy whose team is by far, the best team in the Western Conference. I haven't checked today. Are they the best team in the league record-wise? Yes, they are.
They are because they scored the first 24 points of the 4th quarter Wednesday night and came back and beat Miami after being down the entire game. Just a devastating defensive performance.
And it's like we talked going into the season about the standard being so high for Joker to be a 4-time MVP in a 5-year span and the historical implications of that. And I don't think that he's clearly a better player than Shai. And I think there's a strong argument, or clearly having a better season than Shai. And I think there's a strong argument to be made that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in terms of impact, has been having or is having the best season in the league. And I mean, Joker's insane. The guy, last I checked, he has more triple doubles through 3 quarters of games than any other team has, period. He's having an absolutely bonkers season, but so is Shai. And I'm doing math here, which thank goodness things have calculators. So get this. I would say the 2 most important stats in basketball are very basic: points and plus minus. You have to score points to win games.
I'm not sure everybody would agree with that, but I'll let you keep cooking.
Dude, plus minus is what's the score? The score is the most important stat.
Right, but there's a lot of things that go into plus minus.
Just let him huff and puff, all right? He's huffing and puffing. Let him make his point.
And half of the scoreboard are the points that you score. Shai has a 233 point.
Not always. What you're hoping for is a lot more than half is your score.
This is quite the point.
One side.
Just finish your point. Finish your point, buddy.
Shai has a 233 point advantage in plus minus this year. He is plus 704. Okay.
Wow.
Joker's plus 471. They're 1, 2, and plus minus. Well, I don't know. It's a decent stat to indicate impact if they're 1,
That
2.
was, you're right. That was, I want to take it back.
Okay. So
I liked that. I don't know if I think it's the second most important stat, but that was a good
No, it's the most important because the scoreboard is the most important stat.
Right, but
In
plus
points
minus is
scored-
highly circumstantial. Anyway,
This
let's
is
not
like
go
this
backwards.
is like the
Not
this is like the
done.
ever shifting cojones factor, cojones factor criterion month to month.
Your inability to understand cojones is the least surprising thing in the world. Okay.
I understand it. I just ask you what the criteria is, and every month it changes.
You're not even sure what region they're located on your
Okay, settle down.
Okay. Now I can be petty with you. I'm allowed.
Someday people will hear the end of the poll. But continue.
Well, I'm just going to get the raw points scored. So he's got a 3-point advantage in plus minus and a 236-point advantage in points scored. He's got 1,696 points. We're not to the All-Star break. And Anthony,
We are.
I'm glad we're just citing raw numbers that nobody has any context for of any kind whatsoever.
dude, I'm sorry.
Numbers.
If you have a 200+ point cushion in both of those stats,
MacMahon, Shai is great. I'm just giving
value. And if you're a significant contributor to the number 1 defense in the league, and you're averaging whatever the hell he's averaging in rebounds and assist, he's one of the best defensive playmakers in the league. And your team has the best record. I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive most valuable player case.
Well, it's pretty simple for both guys.
Hey, Jackson, you better comprehensive. That get that thing up on the board, baby.
There you go. We're the vocab lessons are working. I mean, the case for each guy is very simple. Jokic is the first non-center to average a triple-double for a season as of now. His numbers across the board are completely bonkers. Shooting 57% from the field, 45% from 3, 29, I think 12 and 10. Just crazy numbers. Shai would become the, I believe, 6th player in NBA history as of now to average 35-5, a steal, and a block a game. The other guys are Jordan, LeBron, Embiid, Giannis, and Wade. It's a pretty good list also. So, the numbers on both sides are crazy. Now, for the actual results, in second place with 30 first place votes, 69 second place votes, and 1 third place vote, 788 total points, is Nikola Jokic, who's now in second. He was in first in the first poll.
Only 30 first place votes.
I'm going to get to that in a second. So, obviously, then Shai is left in first, 70 first place votes, 30 second place votes, 910 total points.
Oh, number 1 or 2 on every ballot.
So what is the separation in points?
122. Now, a couple things. Well, so here's the thing. We're talking about a totally binary race now, right? These two guys are 1 and 2. Nobody else is getting first place votes. Hardly anybody else is going to get a second place vote. It's going to be, we're back in the same, it's maybe not going to have quite the same venom, but it's going to be the same thing as Giannis and Harden, Jokic and Embiid, etc., the rest of the season. Now, in the 2 weeks leading up to this vote, because the context of these things always matters, right? What's happening? Last time, as you mentioned it, MacMahon, we did this right around the NBA Cup final. Giannis beat Shai in the NBA Cup final, probably the worst game the Thunder played all season. Shai lost some ground there. Right. Worst game he played. Shai lost ground there. Giannis gained ground there. Jokic was in first. What's happened over the last couple of weeks? Shai has just happened to have the first 3 50-point games of his career in the last 2 weeks, as the Thunder have been rocketing out to this huge lead in the West, right? So the context of the moment.
Thundering out to a huge lead. The Rockets.
There you go. That's right. That's a good line by you. So the Thunder have obviously, but between their play and Shai's individual play, I'm not surprised that he is winning. And I think to your point, MacMahon, I don't think you're alone in, if it's a tie, you're going to go to the guy who hasn't won and a guy who, hasn't won 3 of the last 4. So I think that also is working in Shai's favor too. I'm also going to say though, Denver's now 36-19.
They're good.
They are a half game behind the Memphis Grizzlies in second place in the West. They've won 8 games in a row. They're 8-2 in their last 10.
They're the biggest threat to the Thunder in the West, I think.
No question. Jamal Murray's back to being Jamal Murray again. He had 55 yesterday. He's cooking again. Jokic is putting up triple doubles.
Anybody in question giving Jamal Murray a max is a buffoon.
Well, it's good to see him back playing like a max player again. But all I'm saying is you look at 70-30 in the first place vote column and you think, oh man, this race is over. Shai's going to win. I think it's very possible Shai wins. It won't surprise me at all when I do this in a couple months for the end of the season, if he's in first place. I would just say, I think this thing is wide open. And I think that if the Nuggets keep playing the way they've been playing over the last few weeks, and Jokic keeps putting up huge numbers, and they're clearly the second best team in the West after the awful start they had, and Jamal playing terribly early in the year, and everything that's gone on, then I think this thing is going to come right down to it at the end, because Jokic's numbers, like his numbers across the board, are completely berserk. And if you start putting resume against resume, it's going to be very hard to choose, and it's going to come right down to the end of the season, I think.
Well, and can we please just have a deal where we talk about the qualifications of two incredible candidates and not try to poke holes in either? Because, dude,
that would be great.
Like, these guys are both having historically awesome seasons. You don't have to knock Joker to say, I think Shai's the most valuable player in the league.
Correct.
You don't have to knock Shai to say, hey, Joker won 3 out of 4 for a reason, and he's having maybe his best season yet. They're both amazing players. They're both having amazing seasons. So for the first time in a long time, let's have a toxic-free MVP discussion down the stretch.
What other pie in the sky requests do you have?
I think we can do this.
So I would just say that I am routinely surprised at the lack of respect that's given to the Thunder. I'm not sure if it's because this the nature of their team. They're kind of a little hokey as a team. They're in a small market.
Yeah, the group interview stuff, the Draymond.
They haven't done it yet. It's the same as the Celtics. The Celtics were poked in similar ways, and then the Celtics won last year.
Right. No, I understand. I'm just saying, like
Bontemps that said Joker was a fraud until the Nuggets won their title. These things happen. Like, it's the truth.
So I will say that because of that, which I feel like I'm not even like somebody who's like, oh yeah, they're going to win the whole thing. I'm not even like super hugely pro Thunder. Like, I think it's still wide open among several teams, but I feel like I'm almost daily defending the Thunder on TV because I'm listening to my colleagues like just, pencil the other teams in ahead of them. And I'm just like, guys, they're 44-9. They've got 36 wins by 10 points.
They have a point differential of plus 13.5, which would break the record by over a full point. Like, we can't crown them yet. They've got to make the run. They've got to earn their parade right around that Bricktown Canal. Tipsy Tiki's a nice spot on that canal. But
if the Thunder make the finals, are we going to hear more promo for the Tipsy Tiki or the Wonder Boy?
Available for pre-order. Luka Doncic,
the bar
this year,
for sure.
Only because of I think if you bring the Wonder Boy too, we'll be hanging at the GOAT a lot too. It's opening up. If you bring the Wonder Boy, I will sign it.
It'll be the bar, Brian, because the book will have been out for 2 months, and MacMahon will be looking for as much free alcohol as he can get. So it will be the bar for sure.
Listen, calm down on all that. I like they serve cold milk there too. I know that because I brought Royce Young there once when it was the you made me lose my train of thought. Oh, but
what a shock.
To act like the Thunder aren't absolutely a championship caliber team. You're not basing that on any kind of
I agree. I'm just saying if it's close, I wonder how that will affect the voting.
Well, I'm just saying people will probably see this and see 70-30 and just go, Shai's probably going to win. And I would say that it's a lot closer than 70-30, because the thing people don't think about with this stuff is, like, if it's really close, like it is with this, it only takes a few people to flip their vote, and all of a sudden you're in a dead heat. And Shai's coming off an incredible couple of weeks. And I think Denver, like, I think if you ask the average NBA fan or the average NBA watcher, where's Denver in the standings? They're going to say, they're like 5th or 6th. Like, I don't think people are looking at them as being the number 2 team in the West after how chaotic the beginning of their season was. And well, I know they are 3rd right now. I'm saying the fact that they're in a neck and neck race for 2nd is not where we thought they were going to be at any point. And if they end up 1-2 in the West, like, a big part, I think, of Shai's argument is that he is the best player on what clearly has been the best team. But if Jokic has got Denver up to 2nd, then, that's going to be a big feather in his cap down the stretch.
And a big part of Joker's argument has always been the net rating swing, right? Because the Nuggets, again, are awesome with him on the floor and awful with him off the floor. Plus 12.3 net rating on, minus 8.5 off. You add that up, it is, minus
20-point swing.
Minus
20-point swing.
My bad, minus 8.2. So it's a 20.5 swing. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are awesomest, if that's a word, with Shai on the floor, and okay with him out. 19.1 is his net rating, plus 0.6 when he sits. So, they're still a little bit of head above water. But that's an 18.5 point net rating swing. So, I mean, basically the net rating swings are also neck and neck. And again, that's always been, not that Joker doesn't put up all kinds of insane numbers, and you can also do things like turn on the television and watch them play as long as you're not in the Denver area or like the surrounding 6 states. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, the net rating swing.
You said the surrounding 6 states is a joke with me, but that ain't too far off.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, how about them finally getting altitude on the broadcast channels there after it only took 5 years to get it done? Yeah.
Wow.
They just announced that the other day.
I was not aware of that development. That's nice. You have like a historically elite player, and people who live there can actually watch the man.
There's people like in Golden and like, Boulder who are like completely.
Who is this guy?
Number 15.
Who is this guy, Jokic? You
Amazing.
mean Carmelo?
Where do you have in front of you, Bontemps, who was the leading in the poll a year ago and at the break?
It was Jokic, Shai, Giannis, Luka, 1, 2, 3, 4 last year.
So it ended up being Jokic, Shai.
That one, it felt like Jokic basically had it locked up, even though it was a similar gap, but it didn't. Well, there was much more of a debate about
the
whether
Nuggets were a terror throughout last season.
Well, and the debate was about whether Shai or Luka should be, or Giannis should be 2nd or 3rd or 4th, rather than anybody really challenging Jokic for 1st after Embiid got hurt. Because Embiid had led the first one, then he got hurt, then he was off the ballot, then Jokic was sitting there, and he was obviously the guy. This year, to me, this debate is going to very clearly go right down to the end of the season. And, assuming both those guys are healthy, knock on wood, and they both have a very long track record of being very healthy, so hopefully they stay that way. And I think, don't bother putting bets on Giannis or Tatum or anybody else. There's nobody else who's going to win. It's going to be one of these 2 guys. And I think we're going to be, I certainly hope it's not going to be a toxic debate. I think the fact that they don't play the same position will help with it not being as toxic of a debate. And the fact that there's not like even battles over all NBA anymore, like there was with that other one with Embiid and Jokic. But
also,
I think
a lot of Oklahoma doesn't have the internet, so that'll help.
Well, let's not make it toxic, and then let's do that. But I do think this is going to be a fascinating one to go down to the end. And I mean, that's just the only thing I would say about it. Like, even the odds, I was looking at the odds yesterday, and I think it was like Shai was like minus 400 and Jokic was plus 700. I would say it probably should even be closer than that, because I think Jokic has got a real chance.
So you're saying Jokic at plus 700, you like that number relatively?
I just think if you're making a bet, I think Shai, if I had to guess now, I would guess Shai will win. But
me too.
I think the race is far from over, and I think people shouldn't, like, Last year at this time, I thought Jokic was going to win for sure. This time, I think it's like 60-40 Shai wins. But the momentum, I think, could easily swing back in Jokic's favor late.
Shai, after having an MVP runner-up season, has made I would call it like a little hop, not quite a leap, but he's averaging what? 2.5 more points per game, leading the league in scoring. His efficiency, if you look at like effective field goal percentage, is ticked up just a little bit from being really damn good to even better. And the Thunder, after being a number one seed, have made a significant leap where, like, dude, 70 wins is still a possibility for them. We'll see if they maybe let off the gas a little bit down the stretch. Obviously, they're not going to be fighting for any kind of seeding. They're going to run away as the number one seed in the league. But again, he's got a airtight case. It's just that Joker also happens to have an unbelievably tight case himself.
Yeah. They're two unassailable cases. You just have to pick between them.
Ooh,
Unassailable.
That's a good one. Jackson, get us that one too.
Jackson has ESPN bets numbers right now. Shai is minus 700. Jokic plus 425.
Wow, minus 700. Yeah.
So maybe not as attractive on the Jokic number, but I would say you're right. Bontemps, a bet on anybody else right now would be kind of probably a waste.
You're just wasting your money on that because it's going to be one of these two guys.
Bontemps, thank you for your work on this as usual.
Sure.
I will be relying on you to cover All-Star Weekend because I am completely unenthusiastic about it, and I'll be relying on your recaps.
Well, I probably am not going to read a damn thing you write this week in Bontemps, and I ain't going to be anywhere near San Francisco.
I think you've earned that, buddy. You've had quite a stretch of time. Had a lot of people asking how you've been holding up, and I said
I've had a lot of
just
people,
as irritable as ever.
I've had a lot of people encouraging me to go to hell and saying all kinds of nasty things. So that's good. I'm happy there are some people who have some well wishes for me. That warms my heart.
There's a couple of them at least. A couple of them.
You included?
There's probably
included, yes.
There's probably a bar in some NBA city called Hell that you've been to.
There has to be.
Hey, we're talking about Max Christie. Can I tell my Max Christie story? My Max Christie.
Yes.
Oh, is this
please.
about you asking Clay about
is this a good Maverick story? We're in the business for those.
Listen, again, Max Christie's been amazing. I did ask Clay. Yeah, I asked Clay about Christie, and he said, "Man, I thought for the longest," and it just happened to be after the Kings game. And he said, "Man, I thought for the longest he was Doug Christie's son, 6'6" guard, defensive minded, same frame." And then he went on to rave about how awesome Max has been since he's been with the Mavericks, and that pretty shot that again, he's been amazing. But no, I met Max Christie's aunt last year. Do you know Kieran's, the bar, the Irish, like huge Irish pub right across the street from the Target Center in Minnesota?
Yes.
Vaguely, yes. I haven't been there in a while, but yes.
Here's a little tip, Bontemps. When you go cover a Timberwolves game, their PR staff, which was the what's the award?
The Brian McIntyre Award?
Brian McIntyre Award, won it last year. Well, part of the reason they won it is because when you cover Timberwolves game, they give you a little gift bag. In that gift bag, they've got a buy one get one free coupon for brewski at Kieran's. Now, Kieran also happens to be my middle name as a man of
this
Irish.
This is Hoop Collective trivia. I did not know
yes. Kieran. So I can get
even spelled it.
I can get a free beer at the Irish pub that's named after me. Yeah, I'm going to take something in there.
I mean, all he needs to be more Irish is for his first name to be Seamus.
I went to school with Seamus Curley and my boarding school in Maine. Anyways, so I go in there and I have dinner. It's just me.
Have two brews.
This is a mistake. This is a mistake, Brian.
I got one free. We won't count how many I had. I had one free. Anyways, and Lakers Celtics is on the TV. So I'm watching. And the bartender, very friendly woman, she's asking me like, who you rooting for? And I'm like, I'm just a basketball fan. I'm just hoping to see a good game. And oh, you don't like either. Anyways, and she kind of led up to it. And then with great pride, she said, my nephew is on the Lakers. I said, really? Max Christie was her nephew. And I told Max this after they beat the Warriors last night, just chatting with him a little bit in the hallway. And I said, hey, do you have an aunt who's a bartender in Minneapolis? And he was like, I sure do. And then Kristen, the one of the Mavs PR people, does a great job and is a friend of the pod. And she was like, of course you've met a bartender in every city.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
I have several recommendations of places to eat in Minneapolis. But I've eaten at Kieran's before. So
Do you get a free beer at any of them?
I don't think so.
Well, then I'm going back to Kieran's.
Didn't we have dinner? Weren't you at the
did.
lovely dinner we had in Minneapolis last year with Kevin Harlan?
Yeah, with the legend.
We had told some
What
wonderful.
was that spot again?
There's only one legend, but Kevin Harlan is a legend.
There's a lot of legends, but he's
that was at Murray's Steakhouse, which is a famous old school steakhouse. But I'm also a fan in Minneapolis of Bar La Grassa.
Okay, I've not been there. Murray's was absolutely a phenomenal meal. Would go back
Yes.
there in a heartbeat. No question about it.
Yeah.
Don't know their bartender's name or
Not
relevant.
yet. No, the bartender has a nephew who plays for, I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but it's too late in the day. All
It's
right.
too late.
Thank you for Bontemps doing the poll. Thank you to MacMahon for being MacMahon. And
Enjoy vacation, MacMahon.
hope you have a good little time away. You've earned it. Thank you to Jackson and Rafa, our producers. Thank you for listening and watching the Hoop Collective. We'll be talking to you next week.
Adios, amigos.